When you first get this yarn, you'll notice that it's kind of folded up. You have to take the yarn and spread it out so that you see these top loops. These are the loops that you're actually going to knit with. So I'm going to spread this out and start picking up the loops to put on my needle, about 4 inches from the end. And you insert your needle from back to front. You skip a loop. I'm going to skip this one. And you go back to front into the next one. Skip one, back to front, skip another one, and I'm going to put 6 stitches on my needle that I'm actually going to knit with. So let's see how many I've got now. I've got 5. One more, skip this loop and go into here. To knit with the yarn, you're going to be using these loops in between on this other side here. You're going to skip a loop and put a loop on, and you're going to knit in the back of the stitch, which is kind of unusual for knit. But you skip this loop, put this loop on your left, oh excuse me, that's my right needle. Drop the old stitch off the left needle, skip this loop, use the next one. Have to put my needles into the stitch. These are really slippery stitches. In this first row, you have to really watch, make sure you don't have everything that's going to drop off. Okay, skip this one, use this one. And it does get a little faster when you get a little bit more on your needles, and once you've done it a few times. Okay, this is not the one. I need to skip one a little further away. The loops are not spaced exactly the same all the time. So sometimes knowing which one to skip and which one to actually work, you have to kind of look at it. And I'm down to my last 2 stitches. And the last one. Bring the yarn up here so I can see. It helps if you kind of poke your finger through the area that you're going to use. And you can see how the ruffle has doubled on itself. You only knit in the back loops for that first row. I've knit another couple of rows, and just to show you that it can go a little faster, just knit the first, slide it over, find the loop, and just have to make sure that you're not letting anything drop off. If you have to set this down, we highly recommend that you put point protectors on the needles, because it wouldn't take much to have all these stitches just fall right off the end of the needle. And here I am already to the last one. And you can see we're getting some tiers of ruffles. As you can see here, I've done a few rows, not a whole lot. I'm going to show you how to bind off now. I've cut my yarn so that I have about 12 inches left. If you're knitting from a skein, when you have about 12 inches is when you should think about binding off, because you have to use some of this yarn to bind off with, and then you have to tuck the ends up under these ruffles and hide them, sew them down. So you have to have enough to do both of those things. So I'm going to bind off and knit. Just knit the next stitch just like normal, knit the second one. And as I get to this point, I'm going to put my left needle tip into the first stitch and pull it over this one. Knit another stitch. Oh, come on. There you are. Okay. Bind this stitch off. You count the stitch when you bind it off, not when you knit it. So we're going to get down here to the last stitch, and I'll show you what you do with that last one. It's not the normal cut the yarn and pull it through the last loop type finishing that you are used to with knit. We are actually going to just pull this loop up and sew it into place, and then hide the back, hide the end, this end that I have left, behind the ruffle. So I'm down to this last stitch, and I'm going to pull it up like this, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to sew it down. I have bound off all my stitches, and I have this loop left. You need to have a sewing needle and some matching thread. As you can see, I've got some dark blue here for my variegated blue. Just put a knot in your thread, just fold this loop down and start catching it with your thread. That will make the loop secure, and your nice little scarf will unravel for you because you have tacked it down. Then take the end, fold it behind this top ruffle, and sew it down to the bind off. Trying to make sure you don't get the loops caught like that. And you can just finish this off, and you'll have a nice ruffle scarf. You turn the beginning end under this first tier too, and do the same thing as far as sewing it.